So, what's up guys, your boy Andy. Um, if you guys need to know how to get a 1600 on the SAT, so here are just some real quick tips on how to get 1600 on the SAT. First thing is you need the big blue book. It's the College Board book, and it's basically going to cover everything. It's something that, and if you don't have the book or you can't afford it, the second best thing is to use the College Board practice tests online. Just keep going over those, look at the explanations, and try to memorize as much questions as you can. Now, let's say for each subject, if you want to focus more on, you have to basically get a perfect score on each subject. And that seems hard, but it's really not that bad. So one of the main things is you basically want to memorize the questions, because the SAT is made in a way such that all of the questions are the same. So one test is going to be pretty much the same thing as the next test and the next test. So if you just do as many tests as you can, that's actually going to help you memorize all these questions. So by the time you even see the question, you're gonna remember like how to do the question. And then on top of that, that's actually gonna make you less anxious, because you won't have to be thinking, oh my goodness, how do I figure this one out? For the reading, you want to make sure you memorize as many vocabulary words as you can, which is, again, all it goes back to just always doing the tests. By the way, if you, I have private tutoring, so my number should be somewhere, and it's in the description, and it should be somewhere in the video as well. You have to try to memorize as much vocab as you can, but let's say So on the reading, when you're reading, you want to basically visualize what you're reading. Don't go to the next sentence without trying to figure out what that sentence means. So if sentence number one is not making sense, I just have to keep reading until it makes sense. And then if it really doesn't make sense, I can read ahead, but only to use that as context to then figure out what sentence one is. I don't want to just read ahead just to skip the sentence, because normally if the sentence doesn't make sense, that's going to be the one that they're going to be giving you a question about, right? Every sentence counts, every word counts, so go over, thoroughly. If you have to read it twice, but don't read it too fast, and at the same time don't read it too slow, because you don't want to waste time on the test, which is why you need a watch. So if you can get a watch that is just like, it says 3:30 on it or something like that, then you're going to be all set. Let's say, even if you study vocab words and you don't understand like what the word is on the test, use the context to help figure out the word. What I like to do is I cross out the word and I reread the sentence, or I reread the paragraph, and then I think, what word would I put in exchange for this word? So another thing is, don't just pick like the first answer. Try not to look at the options. Look at the question, and then always go back for every question. I always go back to the story, and then when I pick my answer, I try to justify it like cleanly and specifically with one sentence. If you're making too many indirect leaps of logic, or if you're kind of just, if it's not the exact answer or you can't prove it, it's probably wrong. So go back to the line that justifies your answer, and then you can pick that answer. Otherwise, don't just pick anything. If you get really confused, then look at the options, and then you can even plug back the option. You can even plug the options back in, and then into the story, and see what makes the most sense. A lot of the questions you can plug. For the writing and language, you never want to pick no change all the time. Don't always. If you're always picking no change, you're probably wrong, because the questions are made so that they give really close questions. Like one might have an extra comma, and that's the only difference. So what you have to do is make sure you understand your grammar, make sure you understand where commas are supposed to be put, and then like where are commas supposed to be put, where are apostrophes supposed to be put. Like, so you have to understand like, are apostrophes for plural, just certain grammar things, I think. And then again, always think about the answer first. And for the writing and language, even though it's mostly based on grammar, you still have to read the whole thing and understand the whole context, just as if you were reading the reading section. For the math test, the no calculator section, you have to basically, again, memorize the questions and all that stuff. But there's two sorts of questions on the math sections, for actually 3 and 4. Both are, well, one is if there's letters in the question and letters in the options, you can actually pick numbers for those letters and then plug it in. And then the other one is if there's letters for the if there's letters in the question and numbers in the option, you can just plug in those options and then see which one makes the most sense. The more you do this, the easier it'll get, and it'll really help you out when you don't know what the regular way to find the answer. For the grid in the math sections, the grid-ins are actually easier because there's no options, so they make it so that it's something you should be able to do like pretty quickly, you know, since they don't give you any options. And if you guys need any more help, I do private tutoring. Also, there's videos in the description. Comment if this helped you out, or if it didn't help you out, let me know any advice you have. Hit the like button, and I will see you guys